be a millionaire, billionaire,
Yeah.
whatever right away. Like, and you don't have to have everything figured out, but there are some very minimal key things that you can implement that will really pay off long term.
100%, bro. So I think we have a lot more opportunities, a lot more resources that we can invest at a younger age. We can invest without having to call in a stockbroker to a place of the, you know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag.
What's up? What's up? You are now listening to FYI FLI, the podcast, and I'm your host, Hassan Thomas, along with Remy, and we are here to share tools on how millennials can budget, save, invest, and understand student debt and credit to achieve financial freedom. If you're a high school student, college student, or someone who's interested in gaining more financial insight, this podcast is for you.
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag.
What's up, my FYI FLI folks out there? How y'all doing? I hope y'all doing all right. Welcome to the FYI FLI podcast. My name is Hassan Thomas, aka the kid that did and the man that can, baby. And today, we're going to be chopping up with serial entrepreneur, money educator, and viral sensation, Mr. New Money Nate. How are you, bro? How are you?
Doing amazing, man. It's amazing to be here.
Yes, sir, man. Well, I know we originally met at FinCon, man. How's things been? You been making a lot of plays since then?
I'm trying to do my thing, man. Trying to stay at it. FinCon was crazy. It was a lot of energy down there.
Thanks.
It was my first time in Florida, man, so I really enjoyed it. So great time, but I've just been grinding, brother.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely glad you was able to make it down, man, because I didn't even know that you was from Toronto. So shout out to you, man. Shout out to Toronto, because I actually just went to Carnival up here in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
And I know y'all got Caravana up there in Toronto.
Yes, sir. It's crazy, man. It's wild out there, man.
Well, we definitely gonna have to link up there one time, man. But right now we here on FYI FLI, man, and what we like to do, we like to skip the fluff and get right into the good stuff, man. So I've been watching your content for a minute, bro. I love what you're doing out here, man. I've always give credit when credit due. So the first thing I want to ask you, bro, have you always been good with money, or was there like a moment in your life or an event that you were like, okay, now it's time for me to get right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, brother. I definitely wasn't. I thought I was when I was younger. So I grew up, parents didn't have much money. It was always something my family was always arguing about, talking about, whatever. So
Yeah.
It was right here. So I felt like I understood the value of a dollar. But, early university, you start living on your own. I really didn't have a good grasp of my money. And so the biggest moment for me that was a smack in the face was I was adding my transactions over the past semester. I had a semester and I was just adding it up. And I was like, I wonder how much I spent just going out alone. And I think I spent like $2 or $3 grand just going to like bars and going out or something crazy like that.
That's that college life.
Yeah, man, I was so taken aback that I realized like this was my time to like figure it out. So I just like dove into all the content and listened to every podcast, read every book, and just fell in love with it and made a lot of changes really quickly. And then, man, after a few years of just nerding out on it, reading everything I could, I decided, hey, man, I could do this. Like I could share some of these tips that I'm learning and stuff like that. So that's how I got started, and I never turned back.
Well, first of all, bro, I appreciate your authenticity, bro, for, even sharing that story, that true story. So like you said, you were, in college doing what college students do. We, going out every weekend. I was just telling my stepmom, I was like, man, I went from going out every weekend to, really locking in with my business. But, I feel personally that I'm missing some of that balance, because I went from, like you said, going out every single weekend to locking in and, with the business and everything. So I want to get your opinion on, where do you find that balance of, okay, let me be financially responsible, but I can still, go turn up with my friends and have a good time? Like, where do you find that balance, bro?
For me, man, I just always make sure that the big things are taken care of. So as long as, I'm investing and everything's being contributed to, and, my cash flow is right and I'm doing all the right things, and monitoring my money, then like I don't have to stress as much or really at all. And everything's already taken care of. So like anything that's excess that's in my account for my spending is like there to be spent. So I have no guilt. It's just guilt-free money. So I feel like the biggest thing you can do is separate it and make sure that your money is handled in one area and the money that's for spending is in one area, so that like you just don't have to think.
Yeah.
If you want to get something, you can. That's what it's meant for. And so that's how I structure my finances, and it really works for me, man. I haven't worried about money. And that's my goal, is to never worry about money again. So
Facts, man. Facts. And I love the way that you put it, because I want to get your opinion on this. From your time and experience in personal finance, what would you say has been like the biggest issue for our millennials, our Gen Zers, when it comes to money?
it's honestly just, I think, delaying, man. It's just like just kind of worrying, procrastination, really.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not that new to us, but it always feels like you can get started later on, but there's such a huge opportunity cost that you pay when you
Yeah.
delay getting things ahead and getting ahead of it. For example, you could invest from 20 to 30, 500 a month, and then never invest from 30 to 65. And then
Yeah.
you can have somebody that invests 500, that same per month from 30 to 65, and they'll pretty much, no, the guy that's 30, 65 will actually lose because he doesn't have as much time in the market. And
Come on,
so
man.
getting in early does a lot of the heavy lifting, and there's a lot of leverage with time. If you have more time, you have more leverage. And if you get started, even if it's smaller, because you have time on your side, you're able to lift a lot more and get
Yeah.
to a lot higher places. And so you can delay it, but you're just going to have to do a lot more heavy lifting because you have less leverage later on. So I try to really push that and say, hey, you don't have to, be a millionaire, billionaire,
Yeah.
whatever right away. Like, and you don't have to have everything figured out, but there are some very minimal key things that you can implement that will really pay off long term, and will really, just this small little push in the right direction will create, a lot of leverage later on.
100%, bro. Because even nowadays, we have something called fractional shares that wasn't here, I guess, like in the 80s or 70s. So I think we have a lot more opportunities, a lot more resources that we can invest at a younger age. We can invest without having to, like in the back of the days, of calling a stockbroker to a place of, place of
Yeah,
investment for us.
absolutely.
So
There's no excuse, right? Like, we got all the stuff.
exactly. So are you more of a proponent of like index fund and ETF investing? Are you more of a trader? What's kind of your style when it comes to investing?
Index funds, ETFs, man, long term, buy and hold,
Yes,
get
sir.
the nice and boring stuff, and just let that ride, man. I think that's the proven strategy. I don't think it's that wise to be speculating in the market and trying to, do all the stuff. I mean, a couple stocks here and there, if you want to really like research them, whatever, that's fine. But I
Yeah.
think for the most part, it's buy and hold index funds, and I think it's one of the best strategies.
Lazy way to become a millionaire, man. That's what they call it.
Yes, yes, sir. Lazy, but the true, tried and true, man, tried and true.
Big facts, man. That's why we on the show, man. Come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
now I
sir.
want to pivot a little bit into some of the issues that we're seeing, like really in the workplace, because I have seen your content has shifted, somewhat to, workplace and, employee issues and things of that nature. So I want to start with something that I believe got a lot of exposure this year, is like the quiet quitting and the quiet firing. Why do you believe that has become like such a hot topic?
Yeah, man, it's wild. So with the quiet quitting thing, I saw that come up a few months ago,
Uh,
and it's sort of like this. I don't know. Over the past few years, it feels as though, especially with the pandemic, it
yeah,
feels as though that like people are really checked out, they're tired, and their tolerance for BS from their employer is just like an all-time low, right? And especially in this sort of environment, this economic environment where there's tons of jobs. I mean, things are starting to slow down now, but still, it's a pretty hot job market, so to speak.
hmm
Employees are naturally going to feel like jobs are abundant. They can kind of be a certain way. There's more to life than just being at a job. And social media helps with that, in the sense that
hmm
like there is a lot of positive stuff that reminds people that, hey, you can be more than your job. So that's
Okay.
another positive. But in general, people have a different mindset around work, and it's shifting. And again, this sort of economic environment has really enabled people to feel as though they shouldn't be overworked. They should be getting paid what they're worth, which are all fantastic, great things.
Yeah, for sure.
And this quiet quitting in general is not even quitting. It's just doing your job, but not going above and beyond, because time and time again, you're getting passed over.
Uh-huh.
And then quiet firing is basically just them giving you the cold shoulder, hoping you leave so they don't have to pay severance. So it's sort of a hostile thing. It's more media driven. I mean, these things have been happening for a very long time,
Mm.
but there's just more press coverage, more social media coverage. It's just coining it's a new term for an old thing. And just like anything, I think it'll come and go. But the behavior will stay. And I think employers are going to have to adjust to that because people are just expecting different things now.
Yeah, bro. From what you're saying, it sounds like that you believe that, the employees now have more leverage. It sounds like
Yeah.
that's what's coming out, and that kind of, comes about on your feed and all the great content that you put out. That negotiation is critical whenever you're an employee talking to these employers. So can you like elaborate or maybe give us like a personal example of a negotiation, tactic that worked for you?
Yeah, man. So I negotiate for my business like every single day.
Uh,
I had a few deals before today. Like we hopped on this call,
yes,
so I
sir.
love negotiating. That's a good deal, man. And I definitely did that when I worked. I'm full time with my business now, but I did do that when I worked corporate. And
Okay.
I think the number one thing I try to get across on my page probably is you should be getting as much money as possible because a lot of people segment personal finance and career, and like to me they're all one and the same
Big
because
facts.
most people make most of their money from their job. So I got to talk about the job. I got to talk about how to get the bag from your job.
Come on.
And so that's why I talk about negotiating and getting your value. So to me, it's all part of the same thing. But you're definitely right that I've been talking about it more. And I think I want to, with the skits or the talk or whatever I do, is empower people to like ask. Really, like everything
Yeah.
that I do is just empowering people, like trying to get people to have that sort of attitude, like, hey, because whether we're in a hot market, a cold market, a Goldilocks, I don't care. You should always be going hard for yourself, like always, always,
Come on
always.
now.
And so I'm gonna drill that into my audience's head that you should. Oh, nobody's gonna speak up for you, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing that I try to get across. And so that is what I've heard people say too, is like, hey, I feel more confident. I feel like I can actually
That's
do this.
huge.
It's just a little. You don't even need to be like an FBI negotiator to just get a raise, man. Like get a raise or get a new job or these different things. It's like applying. Look, first of all, opening your eyes. That's the first thing,
Yeah.
and then asking and looking and seeing that there's different opportunities everywhere. Because I feel like you're that type of guy. I'm the type of guy like. The whole world is we just see opportunities everywhere, right? And I feel like some people get beaten down by this world and they don't see what's in front of them. So I hope with my content I can help them see that there is a lot out there for them.
Giving them that confidence to just shoot their shot.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that, bro, because it's and I feel like this is back to the positivity of social media. If people aren't growing up with that parent or with that parental figure or mentor who's behind them, you know what I'm saying, who's telling them you can do this, like you don't have to be afraid.
Yeah.
I think that's where you and I and a lot of the other great content creators come in, by empowering and, like you said, making them confident, like, hey, I can ask, nobody, the worst thing they could say is no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For real. For real. The big, like, man, like I thank my mom and I thank my dad, like, especially my mom, man, I would say, for really giving me that like encouragement and really instilling that in me. But like I
Yeah.
said, like not everybody has that. And so, I mean, honestly, one of the biggest reasons I started the page was to give people that energy and give people that you can do this. You can get good with your money. You can get this together. Here's how to do it. Like, I want you to win. I don't care what it is. Like, I want you to win, and money is the best way to win, in my opinion. So that's why I do what I do, man.
I love it, brother. I love it, man. So let's stick on this 9 to 5. The employee wave. What are some ways that employees can become invaluable at the workplace so they never lose their job? And I think this will be extra good for what's coming up, because we're on the verge of it. We're already in a recession, but a lot of experts are saying that we could be on the verge of a deeper recession. So I think this will be really good for them.
So I would say, as much as this quiet quitting thing is like a thing, I don't think it's really what people should be doing for a number of reasons. Number one, the only reason you should be doing that is because you're already checked out and you are going to leave, and you've already sort of been like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm going to do the bare minimum, but I'm already like recruiting around and like I'm going to leave.
Gotcha.
Right? That's the only scenario where I think that's a good idea. But in general, I think you do need to go above and beyond, but you need to go above and beyond in different ways. You need to do things and make everybody's life around you way easier. So picking up tasks and just being the best person and the most, go-to person for your boss, and really trying to pick off stuff and just trying to do as much as you can, because if you're that go-to person for your boss or your employer or whatever, they just can't let you go. They can't afford to let you go, and so you're gonna have to do that. But a lot of people feel like there's that they don't get rewarded, they won't get whatever. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, as much as it is a transactional sort of environment, like, you can't always be giving, and like expect 1-to-1, like everything's going to come back to you. If you're at a good, healthy environment, which you should be, otherwise you should leave, then you're going to get rewarded in some way, shape or form. And that could be keeping your job in a tough environment. So I think really trying to help and everybody around you, make everybody's life around you easier is the number one way you can do it.
And I think also, to add on to that, bro, by becoming more valuable and adding more skills, you're even helping yourself in the long run, because a lot of those skills are going to be transferable. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think they're helping themselves in the long run.
No, for sure. Like, you need to, like, you want to be great. Like, everybody should want to be great. And if you're not in a place where you're not encouraged to be great at what you do, then you need to get the hell out of there and find that place that you can be great at what you want to do and want to be great, and you are rewarded for what you're doing, and you are rewarded for going hard. Like, that's the thing. You shouldn't stay at a place where you're not going to get rewarded. But once you do find that, you should be going hard, right?
They say you got to go where you're appreciated, not tolerated, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Absolutely.
Yes, sir, man. And I feel like, honestly, people tend to feel that the entrepreneurs and the athletes are the only ones who can become these big, successful millionaires. But I was doing some research and I saw that over 80% of people become millionaires through investing in their 401ks. So can you kind of double down on the importance of building wealth through investing?
Man, I think it's crazy, because one of the best things about the stock market and building wealth through your 401k, your Roth IRA, etc., or here in Canada, TFSA, RRSPs, like, you don't have to, you're buying these businesses long term, and they're diversified, and you don't have to do squat. All you need to do is give them money, and it grows. Like, it's beautiful, and you just need to give it enough time. But like, that is the way to wealth long term. And that's how you're going to set yourself up. Like, if you're in your 20s and you start putting a few thousand away, even a year, but if you start to do that per month, you really start to put away, 20, 30, 40% of your income into the market. Like, you could retire at 40 if you want to. And obviously, if you're really going hard in your career and you're leveling up, as a percentage of your income, if your income's going up, you're going to be investing more and more and more and more.
Come on.
And you'll be able to be financially independent way earlier. So I think it's just, it's all about leverage, this whole conversation. Finding those things where you get a lot of leverage out of little input is absolutely what everybody should be focused on. And the market is one of the best examples of that.
Bro.
Yes, sir.
So I have a couple more questions for you, man. One thing that I also wanted to touch on was interest. I feel that a lot of young folks don't understand, the positive way interest can be used with compounding interest. And we also may not understand how it can be used against us with, high APRs and different things of that nature. So can you kind of touch on the both ways that they can be used, for us and against us when talking about interest?
So you're talking about like how APR, like compound interest, can work against us.
Yeah, how it can work for us and against us. Because I feel like a lot of young folks aren't like we do the buy now, pay laters, because we really don't understand how much we're going to be paying more. You know what I mean?
So yeah, absolutely, man. I think compound interest both ways, it cuts both ways, right? So if you put $1,000 in and it grows 10%, you get, you have your 1,100, but then it's going to grow exponentially, right? So with your debt, if you're not paying down, significantly every single time, it's going to exponentially grow. And so you can make payments for the rest of your life, but if it's not outpacing the interest, then it's going to eat you alive. So it is, as beautiful it is on the upside, it is lethal and vicious on the downside. So it's fantastic for exponential growth and investing, and you can invest $10,000 over your life, and it could be like 100,000, 200, 500, depending on the return, right? It is a beautiful thing. But with debt, it will bury you because you can make payments till you die and you'll still be in debt if you're not structuring the payments accordingly and in a good schedule to where you're actually paying it down. Because you need to incorporate and understand that your debt is compounding within itself over and over and over. So you need to be very mindful of that. And that's why credit card debt, especially because of the APR being so high, you need to be very, very careful and not get into credit card debt. And if you are in it, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to get out of it due to the compound interest. So as great as it is on the upside, you got to be very careful on the downside with debt as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope everybody's, taking in some of these gems that he's dropping because they're real life. They are real life. And I think from the people that we bring on the show, I really strive to make sure that you're hearing these things before you go out and do them. So whenever you're at the car dealership, you're thinking like, oh, APR, I've seen this. I remember New Money Nate was talking about this. Hold on. You know what I'm saying? Let me take a step back and let me realize what I'm doing. Or like for me personally with the 401ks, bro, my first job at Kroger it's a grocery store. My first job, I think I was 14 as my freshman year. And they offered me a 401k. But I didn't know, I had no idea what that was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I had to call my dad and ask him because they were like, do you want the 401k or do you not want to, participate in it? And at the time, I'm like, this seems very serious. Like, I don't know what it is, but it seems serious. So I really do appreciate you dropping these gems, man. And I want to get more into the FinLit because this is FYI FLI. A show about financial literacy, which is not only understanding how to budget your money, but being able to grow your money effectively and efficiently, man. So our audience wants you to give us a good money habit that you have, and then also give us a bad money habit that you have that we could cut off, man.
Man, I would say a good money habit that I have is automation. Like I really make sure that everything is nice and tight and clean and is going off. I guess a bad money habit that I have is, but I allow myself to do this is like, I love getting treats, man. I'm a foodie, so I go out with my girl and we go to like these fancy we get some food like these nice desserts and things like that. So I like a good sweet here and there. It's kind of random, but I think it's not bad, but it's just sort of like my vice. But I think
everybody got those.
Something like that,
I feel that. And I was telling somebody, it's this place, because I told you I just moved to Florida about a month ago. And it's funny, I moved to Florida, but it's this place up here called Detroit Pizza.
Oh, for real?
And when I tell you that joint is busting, so I go like once a week and like the pizza I'll be getting is like $20. So I know, that's my little $80 vice a month, that I include to the budget. But at least we're planning for it. You know what I mean?
Got to plan for it. As long as you plan for it, man, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Facts, bro. Facts. So I have one more question for you, man. I'm going to read you two quotes, and I need you to tell me which one is more accurate in your opinion, all right?
Okay.
All right, bet. So the first quote is, more money, more problems, like Biggie. And the second quote is, money can't buy happiness. Which one do you believe is more accurate?
Oh, man. I would say money can't buy happiness. I think money can get you very, very far.
Yeah.
But so one thing I would say is not having money is definitely not happiness. That's for sure. You know what I mean? But like having a ton of money doesn't necessarily correlate to pure happiness up to a certain level. So as long as you're taking care of your immediate needs and you have shelter and you have food and you're okay, then like everything above that is just kind of cherry on top, but it's not going to make you feel full.
Gotcha.
You're probably not going to feel full unless you have like good, healthy relationships around you with your friends and family, things like that. Very token stuff, very stuff that people know, but you can't buy that kind of stuff, man. That's got to come from other things. Money can help elicit it, but it can't close the deal. And so it can enhance your relationships in a sense, but ultimately, man, it's going to be, it comes down to that kind of stuff and the deep stuff. So I would say money can't directly buy happiness, but it can certainly help.
Okay. And what about that other quote, more money, more problems? You don't believe in that at all?
Not really, man. Not really.
I love it. Yes, sir.
Because I think it's just not, I don't think it's true. Like I think you can have more money and there's more things going on and there's different problems. There's different problems, bro, but they're better problems. They're better problems. Everybody's gonna have problems. But worrying about, your transaction fees for, your wire transfer of $25,000 is a hell of a problem to have versus, not having food at the end of the day.
Come on
Like
now.
it's
Come on.
just two different things, bro. You have better problems. You might have
Yeah.
more problems, but in general, they're better. So I don't believe that you're any worse off by having more money.
And it's about that mindset, man. And I'm glad that, because a lot of entrepreneurs do get on here and say, yeah, more money, more problems. I got taxes, I got family coming for me, I got this, I got that. So I do
Good problem
appreciate
to have.
yeah, I definitely do appreciate that different perspective, man. So thank you again for joining the FYI Fly podcast, bro. If you got any final words, any final gems, give it to them, and also let them know where to reach you, bro.
For sure, man. Hassan, I just want to say, bro, this is such a fantastic show you have here, man. And your energy really came off you at FinCon, bro. I couldn't say no to it, man. I'm so happy that
Appreciate you, bro.
we're so able to, chat and stuff like that. And yeah, y'all can check me out on New Money Nate pretty much everywhere. New Money Nate _ on Instagram. New Money with Nathan Kennedy's the podcast. And yeah, man, I'd love to help with any way I can. You hit me up on Instagram. I answer every single DM. And Hassan, man, like I said, man, I really, really appreciate you having me out here.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. And I did not know you had a podcast. Hey, new podcast alert we finna be listening to. I did not know you had a pod, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I do. I actually started with the podcast. It's definitely not as, I don't do too much, but like I still post every week. So y'all can check that out for sure.
Yeah, definitely gonna tap in, bro. Cause like I said in the beginning, bro, I've been a fan of your content, bro. Now when I met you at FinCon, I was like, bro, if we could get this guy on the podcast, it's gonna be flames, bro. So I appreciate it for real.
Of course, man. Of course, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So everybody listening, take some of these gems that my man dropped here today and not only learn them, but actually implement and apply them into your life and watch your life change, man. So again, thank you so much. Everybody listening, stay safe, stay invested, and stay FYI Fly. We'll see you next week.
Thank you all for listening to FYI Fly, the podcast, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Tune in next week for more financial literacy insights with our special guests. Please visit our website, social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at FYI Fly Podcast. That's FYI FLI Podcast. See y'all next week and stay fly.